What is spirituality? To me, spirituality is very simple. It's someone who seeks the truth of who they are, the truth of reality, someone who seeks enlightenment, someone who tries to dissolve their conditioning.
You are more than just your conditioned self. You are more than just genes plus the environment.
That innate nature within your own self of your immortal essence.
Spirituality is not a means to some end, it's an end in itself.
It would involve the realization, or at least some inkling, the phenomenal world we appear to be living in is not the highest reality, that we are living in a kind of Plato's cave or living in the Matrix, and also it would involve a response to that.
Spirituality is not merely one concern amongst others, it is the ultimate concern.
Spirituality is not the same as mere religion, much less philosophy in the modern Western sense of just sitting around speculating about reality or truth.
The universal aspect of spirituality is the fact that it transcends scientific materialism.
Spirituality is not simply living an ethical or benevolent life, because there are very worldly-minded, normie-type people who can be very moral and benevolent and good people. And for that matter, even a cow is very moral with regard to not lying or killing or stealing.
Everything else is kind of the same thing as an animal. Animals eat, they have sex, they do a lot of the same stuff that people pride themselves so much about.
When you really look at spirituality, really your own essence, your own eternal soul that we are talking about.
But really, I think what makes a human being unique is the fact that we have this aspect to know ourselves, that by developing that self-awareness and consciousness, I think we can reach heights that are unimaginable.
As to what this is, how to discover it, liberate it from the many defilements that prevent you from seeing and truly actualizing your spiritual self, is what we in this channel hope to present to you.
The left, with its attack dog,
progressivism.
Both prime movers of the modernity that we find ourselves in cut adrift. When we think of the need for traditional spirituality, we should necessarily think deeply
of its antithesis,
leftism.
So, it seems to me it's a good idea to just take what is uncontroversially the far left and just take the logical opposite of that. And the far left is uncontroversially communism. So the left, in general, rejects the way things are. They prefer their ideology and some idealistic utopian future to empirical reality. And that includes even just rejecting the very idea of human nature.
The bigger the government, the more the power starts to collectively grow, which decreases the power of the individual.
Leftism is anti-traditional,
progressive,
humanistic, rationalist, materialist, individualist, and intensely sentimental.
Hard left even tries to destroy family values, family allegiances, that sort of thing, so that you are loyal only to the government.
When we speak about the left and the right, generally what we're speaking about is the individual versus society or the people. The left-handed path generally is that of the people or the populace or the society.
There is indeed a fundamental crisis in the modern world. The failed Enlightenment experiment of the left and its progressivism. And the root cause of this decadent decline is ultimately spiritual.
The right is now the defender of Western civilization and the freedom of inquiry that only Western civilization guarantees.
Where the right-hand path, that of the individual, the path that they take by themselves. When we speak about left and right, we ask questions of what is good for the people and then what is good for the person.
What is the right? And that is a good question, because I think most of the people that fling around accusations of someone being far right, quote unquote, couldn't really define the term hard right. There would be acceptance of the wisdom of the past, honoring one's own culture, honoring the wise people of the past.
So how does the right and spirituality overlap? Well, I think they overlap in the realm of morality. I've realized now through all my spiritual training that there's a very strict code of conduct, and that a lot of times, based on what you believe is spiritually right, that's going to result in certain actions. And as long as you have groups of people, actions, you're going to have some form of politics being involved. And that a lot of the current, whether it be Buddhist or Eastern philosophy, has been taken over a lot by leftist philosophy lately.
As you move farther and farther right, there would be more and more of the right to private property. There would be meritocracy and non-equity. There would be like class stratification.
Well, the right means three things to me. The first one is self-reliance, which is really an understanding of individualism, that as strong as we are individually, so too will be that strong collectively. And so therefore, by developing ourselves, making ourselves more independent, we'll be able to offer more benefit to others.
Animal rights, gun control, and COVID mandates have little to do with each other. There is no reason why somebody can't be for animal rights, against gun control, and against COVID mandates. But that is only possible when there is free inquiry, which the left no longer allows. The true seekers, the free thinkers, are now largely on the right.
Generally, these are a conversation that we have where we hope to come together to have a harmony in where the needs of the society and the needs of the individual are met.
To expect Big Brother or some mommy state, some authoritarian government to liberate you is just ridiculous, because of course they don't want you liberated. They want you enslaved, at least mentally.
I think when we start talking about specific issues around religion, around how to act in the world, they're going to overlap with politics, so you might as well meet it head on.
Our actions are our own, as Buddhism teaches, and we are responsible for our own successes and failures, and to blame others, some supposed oppressor, for our own unhappiness is foolish and infantile.
Heterodoxy has a lot in common with spirituality, in the sense that both are seeking freedom and truth. Buddhists, for instance, try to not be attached to views. That's pretty similar to not being attached to an ideology.
I would say that a spiritual right would put a lot of emphasis on self-reliance. Nobody is going to liberate you but you yourself through your own actions and your own attitude.
And for me, a lot of this is about reestablishing what I think is correct, which is a much stricter, more, how would I say, it's about connecting spirituality with really looking inside, figuring out how to act and what is right, and then communicating that to others so that they can also improve their behavior, as well as offering support for one another, because it's not easy. And I think that a lot of times, there's such an instinct to look outside of ourselves constantly for help and truth, and really you have to, until you develop yourself and start dealing with your own issues, you'll never really see what's truly outside.
So true spirituality is an acknowledgement that we are living in a kind of semi-reality, and the attempt, at least, to come closer to the truth, regardless of the dogmas and rituals and other religious trappings employed in that attempt. Spirituality would involve purification of your mind, which would involve purification of your morality or ethics, to mainly cause peace of mind, which causes clarity, so that you can see through the veil, penetrate.
My hope is really just that instead of just, a lot of this postmodernist, anything goes relativism, we can kind of come back to something more solid, whether that be from a perennial perspective of Christian, a Buddhist, or a Hindu. I think there's a lot of overlap in those around morality.
We in this channel hope to present to you different ideas, methods, and thoughts that you yourself can use, can ponder, can take to heart, in the hopes to liberate your spiritual self from the many defilements, keep you from understanding your spiritual self.